Right, so they got their picture and all that, and we'll get into this chat. So tonight, we're just going to be talking about Cheeseman takeoff, what we've got here. We're going to talk about long spur, we're going to talk about bridge hill, and we're going to talk about helicopter hill. Yeah. We're not going to go into depth about flying the upper range of Cheeseman, okay? Maybe we could do that another night if you would like to. But mainly it's just around the takeoffs and what to do to help yourselves out and talk a bit about flying around these particular areas and don't put yourself in a dangerous situation. And then once we're finished tonight, we're going to have Graham. You're still happy to do it?
Yeah, yep.
We're going to have Graham to have a brief talk about what led up to his accident. If not many people know, was it 2 months ago?
5 weeks.
5 weeks, is it?
Yeah, not quite 5.
Graham unfortunately had a little bit of a event at Cheeseman when we were flying the range. But we're not going to talk about the accident, we're going to talk about what led up to the accident, okay? So you just don't get yourself maybe in that same situation, okay? Right. How many of you have been up here at this particular launch? Has everyone been here? It looks like most people have, okay? So most of you will know, there's your main ski road coming up. You've got your car park there, and we've got a takeoff here. That's that big flat area. Then we've got the main one here, which maybe everyone knows of, I presume.
Is that walk up?
Yeah, well, you can drive up and park a car there, or you can just walk up here or up the road. That's the main one, just at the corner of the road, and it tapers off. And we cleaned it up, a few years ago, we took the rocks and all that off it, cleaned it up.
Yeah, no, it's where you was from, that corner.
Yeah, this is right on the corner of the road, where we all walked out, we were all talking, we were all standing around here. And that's the launch there, it's all nice shingle.
Oh, that shingly bit.
Yeah, where it tapers down, reasonably sharp.
Yep.
And then we've got another takeoff here, is on the actual road itself. So you can take off on here as well. Now, the main object here is, unfortunately, I do see it a bit over the years, I do see this similar problem on takeoffs, especially if it's light winds, or if it's light thermals coming up in the face, okay? Down here, it's probably, a 5 metre drop from here to here, and it tapers down. And then out this far out here is probably another 6 metres type. So it kind of goes like that and goes like this. And the same here, it drops off quite sharp. It drops off maybe 5 metres and then it tapers out. What I'm talking about is quite often, well not often, but I have seen it, where people, especially on this particular launch, they will pull their wing up and quite it. Remember, it's only light thermals coming through. They get pressure in their wing, but they won't accelerate on takeoff. They'll just walk up to the edge, and then they'll go like this. What will happen is all that weight of your body, the wing loader goes on the wing's going to accelerate, get up there and trim speed, right? Does everyone know what happens when that happens? When you take off and you just walk and all that wing loader goes on? What happens to the wing? It accelerates and pitches forward. I've seen a number of pilots over there smash into here, and it's not nice in here. It's a lot of big rocks, unfortunately, and it's hard. Okay? So the trick is, when you take off from here, you've really got to commit on your launch. Really accelerate, so you're giving that wing flying above your head. So when you do take off, you're not going to all of a sudden pivot down, okay? Accelerate, really run hard, because believe me, it will pay off and you will virtually hardly any lift at all and you'll fly pretty well straight out. This is mainly just in light conditions, okay? If there's thermals coming through at reasonable, at a bit of strength, you won't be inspected as much, okay? And the same case up here, if you take off on the road, when you pull the wing up, don't run off over to here. If you can, run down the road then off here because it's steeper. And it's the same thing. When you're running down the road, really accelerate when you're going down that road, especially if it's light conditions. Because if you just walk up to here and just lean off and do just a little walk off or a little fast run, you're going to come down, your wind's going to accelerate, pitch forward, and you're going to come down and hit the ground. As I said, the reason why I've brought this up, I have seen it a few times, and people have hurt themselves pretty hard. Okay, it's all rock up here. It's not like Taylor's mistake or that. It's going to hurt. So that's the main thing here, is make sure you really accelerate, especially here and here on your takeoff. Now this particular launch here is our main takeoff, as you can see I've marked there. It's a really nice takeoff. We cleaned it up a few years ago. We took the big boulders off and all that and around there. It's a nice shingle, and it's on a nice, 45 degree or something like that. It's reasonably steep, 30 degrees. Now what you can do, if there's a few of you pilots standing around, you don't particularly want to fly at this particular time. If there's a person want to fly, help them out. Don't just stand there and watch them, okay? Because the thermals track up here, sometimes they can be strong, sometimes they can be like 5 k's or 10 k's just tracking up, okay? Lay your wing out on top of the road, up here on the edge, and if there's someone there, get them to help you lay your wing out, okay? Makes it so much easier for everyone. We do no wind takeoffs from here. Make sure you're reasonably confident, and make sure you check your wing when you do take off. Because it's the same case scenario. There's a lot of big rocks around here, and if you do get it wrong, it's going to hurt, unfortunately. So make sure when we do take off there, if there's people around, get them to spread your wing out. At the top of the road, you can have your wing a little bit down over the front, because it tapers down really nice. Most of you guys have launched off there anyway, okay? Bring your wing up, kite it, make sure it's correct, check it, don't forget to check the wing. And before you launch, check down here and make sure the thermals are coming through, you're not going to track through really strong. Worst thing you can do is pull up in the thermal when it's coming up here really strong, okay?
So there are indicators for that?
There's a little wind sock down here or a streamer, okay? But generally when you get on site, you'll sit there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes anyway. Suss what's going on with the thermals, how strong they are, water condition, what's going on, okay? But when you pull your wing up, pull it up, kite it, check, then go. If you don't feel confident, kill the takeoff, okay? Because you can always go back and relaunch.
What's a safe operating range for wind strength and gust?
In gust, if you're up to 25k gusts, I'll be getting quite concerned. If you got gusts of 25, you're going to pull up, you're going to get ripped up pretty quick. And it generally telling you it's going to be strong thermals anyway. I like to see, if I'm up there, I like to see anything from 5 to 15k thermals drifting through. That's enough. Just enough to keep the pressure on your wing.
My golf rule is if you can kind your wing and you feel quite light on your feet, you know it's going to be very powerful up there. So just be wary of your low airtime pilot.
So yeah, 25 k's, yeah, I'd be thinking twice up there.
Yeah.
And if you're a low time air pilot, yeah, it's going to be pretty strong, especially if there's strong cycles coming through. You're looking for probably 5, 10 k's, like that up there. Or sometimes we get no wind up there at all, or the wind can be coming this way, or it can come more this way. As I said, get there, suss the conditions out, and see what's going on with the thermals, how they're tracking, what's it all look like.
And the bigger variation of the gust, the stronger the thermal's going to be, so just be wary if it's more than say 6 kilometre difference. You know, it's going to be stronger. For low airtime pilots, you don't want that variation to be great.
Right.
Low airtime pilot, you want to get rid of the constant pressure.
Okay, so that's what we can do. We can get the different conditions here. Light, 5 to 10 k's, maybe 10 to 20 k's. I've got no issues with that at all. Just be aware, the stronger it is, it's going to pull your wing up quicker. You're going to get flying a lot quicker, okay? But my main concern here is these light wind takeoffs. Make sure you accelerate out of these two sides. They're good as gold to take off from, but if you walk forward, you'll see that, you'll know what I mean. Make sure you really accelerate. If I take off from here, I always run down the road, then really accelerate through there, because I know what's going to happen. I am going to pitch down a little bit, okay? That's my main concern here. Now we get thermals tracking this way, we get thermals tracking this way, sometimes it may be coming up this way. Well, you've got to pull your wing up and control it. Now this is where Taylor's mistake comes in. Taylor's mistake is a keep zone is a great place to learn how to control your wing and learn how to do reverse launches correctly and know how to control it. Because believe me, once you start to nail these reverse launches, when it comes to flying at particular mountain sites like this, it pays off. Okay? Because you have so much more confidence in you understanding your wing when you're launching off. So that's what I mean. Try to get your confidence in your reverse launching up, or even your frontals. Because quite often we do have to frontal launch out of this particular site because there's not quite enough breeze coming through. Or some days what happens is the thermals won't be drifting up here, but they'll be drifting up the front. They won't be tracking up here. Okay, so that's another thing you've got to look at too. And you may also get a bit of thermal draw. I haven't really noticed it this much on this particular site with thermal draw. Thermal draw is you've got the thermals going off out the front, all that hot air down up, something's going to replace that hot air, okay? So it will grab colder air from other areas, and you could be here and the air will come from behind you. Don't worry about it, just be aware of what's going on though. You may have to take off when there's no more thermal draw, because that's indicating to me that thermals are going straight up and not drifting up the ridges. And quite often happens here at the gondola. We'll get quite a bit of thermal draw at the gondola on days. Just wait for half an hour and you'll generally find out when the thermals will start to track better, they'll get stronger and they'll start coming in. Same here. If you're not happy with the conditions on launch, just wait. Now the other thing you've got to be aware of is for low time air pilots, especially on this flying in Cheeseman, what you've got to be aware of, there will be more experienced pilots there. They're going to be sitting around waiting for better conditions. They're going to be looking at the clouds. If you're a lower airtime pilot, you don't have to wait for that long, because believe me, we're waiting for stronger thermals. Okay? You can launch off earlier, doesn't matter. Because generally there will be thermals out here out the front tracking up. Okay? Anything else you want to add? Anything to it, John?
Not really, it's pretty good what you said.
Maybe quickly, it's not often that you could get to a site where you have 3 options of takeoff. So really analyze what day you have and use what you think will be best for you in regards of safety and taking you off the ground as quick as possible. So someday I go there without hesitation, and someday I wouldn't want to be there. I'd rather be here. Okay, and that's all about maybe having a better eyesight here on the windsock coming through. When you're here, you don't see down there. You can feel the air coming through, but is it the beginning of the cycle? Is it mid-cycle? Or is it at the end? So not too sure on that. So I'd rather launch here if I need cycle assistance. If it's a day which is completely no wind whatsoever, I tend to come here, because I can use this as a really good runway. I can have a look at my glider, have some pressure on it. Mind you, you need to run fast because there's no wind, so you got to keep that glider above your head. And I will take into consideration this curve to launch at this line here instead of going straight off. Because like Ross said, straight off here, this rises for a little while. It stays flat for a while before it goes into an angle. Here at least the angle is all the way through and even. We used to never launch there as well, so it's probably the best one we have at the moment, but this is equally good. But again, make sure you have a strong cycle here, or at least a decent cycle. The day that's like a 10 to 15, I'll have no issues taking off there. It's great on those days if you're multiple pilots, you can set up 2-3 wings and then go all together, which is great to search for thermals. Other than that, yeah, I don't see anything else to add on it.
The only other thing here is it's quite a sharp lip. So what will happen, any thermals that, if you're laying your wing out, you will have to put your wing up a bit before you actually get into the airflow of the thermal. Because that sharp little lip just on here pushes it up a bit more, it doesn't drift like it does up the face, if you understand. So your wing's back here, lying down in the green, but the thermal's going more up, and you got to get so you got to pull your wing up to get into the flow. So you're here, the lips like that, thermal's going up. You got to pull your wing up to about here to get into that airflow coming up. Because here will be a little bit dead, okay? Unless there's a little bit more strong, but if it's like that. But as I said, my main concern here is if it's light conditions and you're doing forward launches, accelerate here and here, even here, check, commit, go, good solid launch. And make sure, as I said earlier, you get your reverse launches under control, because you do not want to come over here. And it hurts if you lose control of your wing. If you're not happy, as I said, abandon the launch. Restart again. It's not the end of the day, okay? There's a lot of rocks around here. If your wing comes down, you go to pull it up again, it feels snagged, stop. Don't keep pulling your wing, because you'll end up damaging the line or ripping it or something, okay? Because I do see it off and on, people just go, keep tugging, and eventually it rips a line out of the wing or the tab, or, just pack it up, go up, launch it, lay it back out up here. If you've got people there standing around, if you're standing around, you're not ready to fly yet, help that pilot out. Always help out pilots if you're not flying yourself at that particular time. You may get pilots there who are ready to go straight away because the conditions are on. If they're sitting up, got their wings out of that, if you're not quite ready yet, help them if you can. If they abort their launch, help them, you know what I mean? It all helps. Andre, you had something to say or what?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just going to say here, typically what I see often happens, which is easily avoidable, is people put their leading edge a little bit too on top of this road here, which puts the leading edge kind of away from the airflow and puts it on the flat spot. So that's not great for getting pressure and building a wall on your wing for one, but also it encourages the airflow to go underneath your glider. And once that starts to happen, you're kind of like stuck in between the two worlds here. So the idea of having somebody helping you out there is great, because you can have the glider as high as possible there, but then by having the leading edge up in the airflow, you can create a bit of pressure on it, and now you can see your glider, which means it doesn't take much input.
So you have somebody
fly.
holding it up
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. If not, you can do it on your own by using cycles, but it's much easier to do so when the wing is lower than the lip. If you put the leading edge too much over the lip, then you can't really get the air into it.
It can be a little bit frustrating there at times, okay? Because you get if you're there, especially if you're by yourself, and you maybe just a few of you guys there flying, and you all want to get flying. As John was mentioning, the airflow can come up and get up underneath your wing and pull it up like that. So just have patience on this particular site. You might get a perfect first takeoff. Brilliant. And as I said before, always look down the hill for the cycles coming up, because there could be a strong cycle coming up. That's the worst thing you can do, is pull a wing up in a strong cycle in this particular area. Make sure you know what's happening with the cycles. Look down the hill. Yep, it's a light cycle coming, pull up. There you go. Always look down the hill before you take off.
Just take your time too on your line checks, because
I
the
was
rough
just gonna
rough
say
is
that.
so sharp up there. So go through each individual line to the trailing edge. Make sure they won't snag. It may come clear, but you might shred the
Exactly. Well, Dave just beat me to it, especially for this site and this one, where you're going to put all power on. If you didn't comb, what I call combing is getting all the risers through each of your fingers and checking all your lines. This will get rid of all your little knots, but also drops them in the right order on top of each other. And this way, your wing is actually as clean and as good as possible. Then you can go back into your forward launch, create your slack, and put some power in it. That's a great way to avoid rock taking out a line or having a knot.
Yeah, there's sharp rocks out there.
It's a thermaling site too. I mean, it'll test your technique. And like Ross and I keep saying, Taylor's is great. And you look at, as a gym practice, your Taylor's skills, like spot on and sharp. And then you go there, you're like, okay, I'm going to go back to what I know. And then you have peace of mind on takeoff already. You just have to focus on the conditions.
One of the things too is that Taylor's is always a windy launch, right? It's not a light wind launch.
Yeah,
So
debate that.
but most people that've got low airtime don't go up when you go up. You know what I'm saying?
It's the wind, it's not me.
So it's something we're not used to.
No.
So
You could practice here at the gondola
Speak yourself.
Yeah.
as well. It's a tricky
Yeah.
takeoff, which has some similarities to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gondola's probably worse than here, actually. I think the gondola's more demanding than here. I really do.
Me too. Yeah. Andrea, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. One of them being, as Taylor's is good for ground handling, the airflow is generally very different and basically follows the ground. Whereas if you go in thermaling, the thermals are going to go up, so you might need to give it a little bit more juice when you pull up. And then I see a lot of people being kind of surprised by the wing accelerating from the 45 degrees up. And they let the wing shoot far forward ahead of them, and then we've seen twisted launches and frontals on launch and so on and so on. So just expect it and don't allow the wing to get in front of you. Which if you're doing a reverse launch, it's behind you, but do not compromise your angle of attack on launch, especially if you're doing something like this.
Another thing you got to remember is with this angle like this, you're standing here, the wing's up here. Okay? So that wing's going to be up here a lot quicker. If you do a frontal, you don't have to hit the wing as hard. Because it's only going to come from up here to here. It's not coming from flat off the ground. Some people do get caught out by that. And all of a sudden they find the wing way shot over in front of them as they've taken off, they've hit it quite hard on frontal.
Yes.
Because
quite quick on
it's
the
the
brakes.
angle.
I've seen it being more of an issue at long spur or any site where you're actually launching on a trigger or right behind one. Achievement doesn't have it as much, but it's also worth pointing out that you're not launching on a trigger or over a trigger.
Right.
And the second thing I want to point out is just on behalf of the club. It is a site that's not really a public access, and we've established some rules, or really Skifield established some rules that we need to follow. So I think it's worth for everyone, not just the people who drive up there, but for everyone to just go through the protocol of what we do and how we should behave up there. Part of it is not driving anywhere past the station, past the main building, not really parking anywhere above the main car park. You can drive up there, drop the stuff, and then take the car back to the car park. And a third one that just comes to mind is sharing the road. So there can be mountain bikers or just maintenance people going up there. So if you are launching from the road, please allow for traffic going up and down.
Now, there are gate keys available, but go through the necessary process to get the gate keys.
I've got a guy.
Should we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Any questions on that one before we go to the next slide?
Right, this particular site I've zoomed out now. We're going to talk a bit more about flying once you've taken off here from here or here. Plus also, there's the upper takeoff. Now, if you want to get the upper takeoff, you can just walk up this track that goes up to right up to here, okay? How long does it take? I have no idea because I've never done it.
15 minutes.
15, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a climb, but yeah, it's good. Right. Now, this particular reason I've brought this particular pickup, so we've got the main there and we've got the other launch here. There's this particular spur here. Unfortunately, there have been accidents here. Yeah. The reason why is that, as you can see from the mixing up the thermals on this particular bridge, is what's happening. We're launching in here. We've got thermals coming up here. We've got a main thermal coming up here, and we've got thermals coming up here. So what is happening here? We've got merging thermals or mixing thermals. Okay. So in this particular area, as you can see, I've put some rotor zones down here. But some days they can come coming up this particular side or up the front, and you're going to get rotor in here from the thermals. okay? Or you're going to get massive sink of air. And then all of a sudden you're going to be down below here. Generally what we do is we try to indicate for less airtime pilots, when you take off from either of these sides, sometimes you can fly straight out and hook a thermal out front. Or we suggest that you come over this way. The reason why is, as I said, it can get quite rough in here with mixing thermals. And believe me, the thermals that come off this face here are reasonably strong. You'll know when you're in one. Over here, they don't seem to be as violent as it can be in here, I've found over the years. So, come over here and grab your thermals out of here. If you go over to here, you can get a bit of height there, come back, you've still got height, you can come back over here with height. I suggest if you do want to come over here, come in with height. Because that way, you're going to be hitting the thermals if they are coming up both sides, or you've got the third one as well. And to me, the main one is on the very face, because this has been cooking in the sun for quite a while as well. So always be aware of this. I have flown over there many times, John as well, many other pilots, but there's also been pilots going over there and being absolutely dealt to. So I am being a bit severe, a bit harsh in words maybe, but there's a reason why. Respect this ridge. I don't particularly like going low in here. I'll come in low in here and then I'll get onto this front ridge, because I know these thermals are going to be pushing up here. Generally, as I said, we see newer the students or low airtime pilots, we suggest that you come over here and stay at the front as well. Don't hug the ridge line, there's no need. A lot of the time the thermals will be going up the face, not up the actual face, they'll be further out in front, okay? So they're not drifting back, they're not getting pushed back, especially on light wind days or that. You'll find that the thermals are more at the front. And if you do get the height, then you can come back over here with a bit of height. So, the other thing is, when you are taking off, go this way. When you hook a thermal, you've got to be aware that thermal is drifting up. Make sure you've got plenty of room between the hillside here and the thermal out here. So when you turn, you're going to have plenty of room to do your turn safely. But you've got to remember, thermals will start pushing. And when you start turning in towards the hill, also your ground speed will pick up, depending on the strength of the thermals. So all of a sudden you could be out here at the front, and then all of a sudden you'll find that you're really close to the hill because you haven't given yourself enough room or margin. Because you've got to remember, if thermal will push you, when you're flying in towards the hill, your speed will accelerate, and all of a sudden your turn becomes a lot wider. And sometimes when you try and turn in the thermal, they will try and stop you from turning. They get quite pushy sometimes. You really have to get that wind around, but it just keeps pushing you. So I highly suggest when you take off, come out here and give yourself a bit of safe room. So when you do turn on a thermal, you're going to go up and you're going to do your turns, but you're going to be away from here and allow for that drift of the thermal, okay? Because believe me, a lot of people get caught out by that. And if you do turn close to the hill and you have a massive collapse, it's going to unfold pretty quick. You've got to react really quick. You've got to be onto it. That's why we suggest that you fly further out from the range. We're talking about Cheeseman here. A lot of the time you can fly straight out and you'll hit thermals out the front. And you're well away from the ridges and you can have a fun time out the front and you'll get way up. You'll get up to the top, the ridges, 6,000 feet, okay? But this is what I'm trying to stress is, and if you do go over here, make sure you got plenty of height. Because it really does go off over here. I've come in, as I said before, I've come in down through here and I've actually been a little bit nervous because I know this thermal's going off on the back side, but I've been trying to get to this front face here and I've got onto the front face, boom, gone up like a rocket ship, strong thermals, because it is an incredible heating source there. Up at takeoff, personally myself, I've never taken off from there. Same thing. When you're launching, look through the thermals coming up the face. Get up there, sit for 20 minutes, suss it out, see what's going on, how strong are the thermals. Take off, and if the beauty of with the height is if you do take off, you can fly straight over to here if you want to hook these thermals coming off up here. Okay, you got anything to add, Jim?
No, it's very good. I was just going to say one thing here. I mean, we're talking about this in general, as in a guideline. There's always time of day, time of year. There's so many variables, and we're just trying to give you like a blueprint of what we consider as safe as possible to fly there and to experience Cheeseman with its good sides, not its bad sides. This year, like Ross has mentioned, unfortunately we had quite a few accidents on it, so we've analyzed it and looked into it more and more. And, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that it's always out there to get you. For instance, we used to have this as a launch back in the days. We never launched here because we thought that was a bit too tricky, and we never knew about that one. And we actually just launched from there. But we tend to launch there really early in the day, okay? Like when people are still waiting and wondering if it's on, we would go there and exploit this thermal here because it actually is a really good trigger, that one. That one's there almost all the time. So it's possible if you want. You could launch early there and glide over here when it's really still, for example, and light thermals. It's fine. But yeah, it's best avoided, or it's best to come back on the turnaround after you may be struggling to get higher and you keep playing around here and you do have enough height to go and test this one out. Why not? But if you go low on this one testing, be careful. Again, you end up into a troubled area and you're going to escape where? Maybe back here. Again, with a lot of sinks. So strategy-wise, most of the time it's a better strategy to try to exploit these ones. And away from the hill, as much as possible. You feel the thermal, go away from the hill, investigate how much space you have. That's probably the safest strategy. I don't know if you have it on another slide, but this ridge here,
No, I don't.
continue all the way to the ground really, and we don't pass that ridge line typically when we're thermaling, because especially if the wind is more of a easterly, you can get over the back of that ridge here, and it's kind of not a great place to be.
It's what?
Not a great place to be over on the back side of that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, I'll just add a little bit more. We don't really want to get into the technical side of flying and all this, but we're just trying to make it, put it out there, trying to make it, losing my voice, to make it safe for everyone. Stay out the front, catch your thermals out the front, be aware of the thermals. When you turn in the thermal and you fly towards the hills, you will drift a lot faster, your ground speed will increase as the thermal's taking you, okay? Now, if you're up here flying, you're up here, don't ever take a thermal over low. I've mentioned this a number of times in the talks. Don't ever catch a thermal here, then follow it like a few hundred feet above the ridge line. Never do that. The reason why is once you follow it over, if you fall out the backside of that thermal, you're in a compression zone. And if you try and push back here, it's virtually impossible. You've virtually got to run and go. Because what happens if you only have, say, 100 or 200 feet above, and you're thermal up and fall out the back end of the thermal, all of a sudden you're going to get all that downdraft of that thermal. Plus, you're trying to push forward. Any other thermals tracking up the same direction, they're going to give you all that downdraft as well. So all of a sudden, you're going to be sinking like a rock. And your forward speed will be very little because it's a massive compression zone just on top here where the thermals are tracking through. What you do, if you get up to a couple of hundred feet, make sure you get yourself safety. So if you fall out of the thermal, you can glide forward and get in front of that ridge. See what I mean? Because if you get caught behind it, you just can't, believe me. You've got to turn around and run. Because otherwise thermal's coming up here, tracking up, you're going to get drilled. Okay, you're going to sink, and then also you're going to get pushed into the rotor zone. Don't do it. If you're 200 feet, you can drift, get just in line with it, so you've got plenty of margin, so you can punch forward, fly forward, catch another thermal. Wind it up, get higher, start to drift back a little bit more. And once you start drifting back and you feel safe with your height, then you can start drifting with it. Okay? But this is a common mistake I see. Pilots will thermal really low across the ridge and they fall at the back end of it and then all of a sudden, oh hell, I can't get forward anymore, okay? Don't keep flying forward if that happens. Turn and run. Go to another ridge in the distance. Because if you keep trying to push forward, you'll get drilled from any other thermals coming up in front. They will drill you down and all of a sudden you'll be lee side. And you're in the compression zone on your airspeed or your ground speed. Drops right down.
So the only way out of there would be to run down the ridge.
That's correct. If you go up low and you fall out the arse end of it or the back end of the thermal, you got to turn and run away from the ridge.
Yeah.
That's the safest thing you can do. Don't ever push forward. I can't stress this enough. Okay? Because you got to remember, thermals are still tracking up. You got to get drilled. You try to come forward, they will push you down, and they'll push you down behind the ridge, and then you're in the washing machine. Okay? It's not difficult to do. Catch the thermal, take it up to about the height of the ridge, a little bit further back, heaps of, so you feel confident. You can push forward, catch the next one out here, work it up higher, do it in stages. Okay? It's not a rush. Just take the time.
One other thing too is this is not obviously the summit. The summit is further in the back here, and all that ridge line is maybe telling us we don't know till we actually are high enough that there's a westerly flow. Okay, so we don't tend to scratch our way down this ridge all the way to the summit to find out, oh well, what the heck, I was in the lee, and it's a really strong rotor on the top. So you watch experienced pilot knowing Cheeseman as often that card that we have to deal with is we want to get as high as possible above here in order to glide safely to the next ridge. Now we won't talk too much more about the ridge, but I just wanted to mention that as a trap that can happen.
When we were up there at the start of the season, it was only 10 kilometres an hour from the west, but that thermal rotor, the wind rotor from the back, came all the way over the landing. So it wasn't just that ridge line, it actually could come all the way this way. So it's like,
they're pretty seriously big mountains.
Yeah.
And
You got to remember,
the rotor is...
we weren't really going to touch on this, but you got to remember the west face is absolutely Basin. That's the other side. So we're actually, a lot of the time, we're taking off kind of on the lee side. This side is absolutely Basin, okay, in the sun all day. The thermals are trailing off. What was it, about 5-6 years ago? It was Pete and Gonzi. They went up to here and they had a tailwind. They were getting a rotor up here. They went up high to the launch. And they ended up walking up here and it was a 25k westerly up there. And we were down here launching and we didn't even feel it at all. It was fine for flying, but that's what I'm saying is they got up there and they were getting wind from behind. So they walked up to the top ridge. There was a 25k westerly up there. So it just shows we're really protected down the slope. So always be aware. Okay? If you feel it from coming over the back up here, you know it's going to be westerly on the main big range. We're not really covering that tonight. Maybe on another night we can talk about it.
Hey Ross.
Yo.
The upper takeoff, I've launched there a couple of times. I actually quite like the upper takeoff.
Right.
Something I would just say about it is that the spur that runs on this photo just to the right of
This one?
Yeah.
it's super rocky, very vertical, very in the sun, very tempting to want to scratch around, and I'd really recommend just coming between essentially the upper takeoff and this valley and then this ridge line out in front with lots of height. I've scratched around there, and in hindsight after the flight, I'm like, that was actually a really fucking stupid thing to do. And it was on a really still day, but I just really wouldn't recommend it. If you can climb out there, I just wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I've been rowdied up here many times. In fact, every time I go there, I'm ready about it. So if you have a bit of height, let's just say from this here, and you want to go over here to top up, maybe you top up a bit, but not quite enough, but enough to go and test here. I won't test to a point where I'm low over something. I'll test to a point where I'm going to be as high as possible over something, and then feel that. And if I'm lucky enough to get something, well, then I'm out of the woods. I'll do the same strategies I would do here. Try to get as high as possible without relying on coming close to that edge.
Yeah, that's the one. Totally fine to climb up there. If you're scratching down low, you're in a crappy place.
Best to glide out, because you will hit thermal, you can glide out to here.
From there, you also want to think of your landing, because you're basically pushing into no landing zone.
Yeah.
You're
Everything
going
down
further
here
and further away from the flat.
Now, I will quickly mention, a few years ago, I saw a particular pilot take off. Where was it? Down here. The pilot took off and flew right down behind here. They were dropping like 3 or 4 metres a second.
It was what?
They were dropping like
It's
3 or
just
4 metres a
really-
second.
It's a really sinky
So they
valley.
took off in here.
Valley
Yeah,
is
but instead of
typically
flying
sinky.
onto here, they flew down the backside of this. And they were dropping like a rock. I haven't seen that pilot since flying.
That was
I
more
think
of
they
a
got
northerly
pissed.
flow.
But you got to remember, you know, I couldn't believe it when I saw them take off and fly down that spur. It wasn't violent or anything, but they just got all the sinking air. They managed to get around the front way down here and they landed down on the road or something. Okay? So, just respect these places. It's sheer bacon rock. It really is. There's no more questions. As I said, we're not really going to talk about flying the top of the range or anything tonight because we've got quite a bit to cover. Okay. There's no questions about this. You're all good? Steve?
Any preferred timing when you should launch? I know some people say try and get out before 10ish.
Yeah,
You
no
know,
airtime
Time of
pilots.
year, there's a lot to involve
Yeah,
there.
it
What's your
changes
weather
all the
forecast?
time. You know, like we were up there, when was it, 2 weeks, 5 weeks ago? We were sitting around to what, lunchtime?
Midday.
12,
Midday, well, that's right, you were there, Steve. We were sitting there at midday where probably, because all the less experienced pilots were waiting, maybe for us, I don't know, but we were waiting for the clouds. I was looking for the cloud sign. I was looking for certain things on the clouds before I launched. But
We're just looking at
maybe those pilots should have launched earlier.
If you go
Before it
earlier,
got
a
too
bunch of people, you can always settle back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's generally better to get off at a lower airtime pilots. Don't got to remember there may be some experienced pilots here, and they're sitting there waiting for the conditions. So when they take off, they're going to go up and stay up. Okay. I'm looking for certain things in clouds and that when I'm looking at them to make sure. But sometimes it's good that the earlier pilots go off, the lower airtime pilots, because they can have the thermals hopefully won't be as strong or that. But they make great windows for us, as we all know. Okay? But there's no problem if you just can get together a group and say, look, let's do a carpool. Take off at 10 o'clock or whatever, glide out to Texas flat and go back up again. But be aware, this particular area gets or the whole Craigie Burger range gets extremely strong during summer. Okay? It can be very demanding and active flying. It can be very strong. And you also can get the nice days. But generally that midsummer and all that, if you're going to fly and you've got low airtime, I'd be flying like 10 o'clock or something before the thermals start to really. And have a look at what's happening with the clouds. If it's black everywhere, at 10 o'clock in the morning, be aware it's already happening. It's going off. Okay? This is more of a early spring sight, maybe late spring, but you've got to be aware things are heating up. But early spring, it's going to be cold. You know, you're going to be flying at 0, -3, 4 degrees or something like that. There's still plenty of snow around. Autumn's the better time to fly here for less airtime experienced pilots. Because the heating of the sun's gone down, the heating of the ground's not as violent and all that. So everything calms down quite a lot. And you have some really nice days here during autumn. But be aware, summer, she's a hot place and she's cooking. And believe me, the thermals can get seriously strong there, and especially when you start getting up on the top ridge up here. You've got thermals coming up here, you've got thermals coming up the ridge side. It's very similar to this. You can mix them down on top of the range. And it can be active flying and aggressive flying. You're flying.
plus the valley wind is now adding up to the
Yeah,
equation.
it's
because
sea
there's
breeze.
thermals.
We're going to talk about that
Early in
next.
the day, you don't have the valley winds yet, so
Yeah.
you will find all these thermals probably at the same place as well. They're just going to be slightly weaker.
Some days we'll thermal up and we'll be drifting this way. Some days we'll thermal up and we'll be drifting this way. Every day's different in the thermal direction and the drift. We're going to be talking about the northeast sea breeze, what it does to this actual massive range. we're going to talk about, I think it's number 4 slide, but we're doing number 3 now. We're going to talk, no more questions on that, sorry? All good? It's a lot to take in, I understand.
If I can, I'll just add
Yep.
in that we do tend to sort of ridge soar the front face of Cheeseman, but especially for a Christchurch pilot coming from Taylor's, you really need to realise that we do go there to seek turbulence and go up in it. And just give yourself a bit more margin than you will at Taylor's.
There's much better places to learn than Cheeseman, eh?
Yeah.
Queenstown.
Exactly.
To me, Cheeseman is one of the most demanding primary sites in New Zealand, okay? It's to see, you can go to Queenstown or Wanaka, or you've got the gondola there for thermal flying. Don't be in a rush to go to Cheeseman. You've got Little River, beautiful spot for flying, to learn how to thermal. Cheeseman is demanding. It can be very demanding and be very scary. I'll say that straight out. Right. Okay, Texas Flat.
Point the car park out for me, please.
Car park?
Car park.
Yeah.
It's an hour in the middle.
Thank you. Oh,
Red.
you where it says car park.
Yeah. It's got the
So I've got
star.
Anton on the far right.
There's
There you
Anton.
go.
Right. Everyone knows Texas Flat, I presume? Yeah. It can get quite demanding. I've decided to do this on the grounds that it can get quite demanding landing in here at times. And you can thermal away from Hog's Back as well. This is Hog's Back, this whole entire ridge here.
You can even climb up to the ridge from it.
Yes. Now, when you're coming in, this is a typical landing area. It can be for long skew, you can land in here as well, or mainly from Cheeseman, okay? You fly down across the valley, you're coming down. Just be aware they are thermals triggering off. As I said, if you fly above Hog's Back, you've got the height, fly down the ridge line. Chances are you'll hook a thermal, and the chances are that thermal will take you back up the ridge line, up to 6,000 feet. That happens. You can also launch off here. This particular area, if you launch around in here, not back here because you get more of a compression zone back through here, but here's a nice little bowl. You can launch off there and thermal up as well. You can just walk up here. But same thing, case scenario, check your conditions. If it's 25 k's or that, forget it. Okay? It's quite demanding up here because it's quite steep. Right, the landing paddock is here, but virtually, as we all know, the landing paddock's like this. Just be aware that thermals do create the air pressure coming through, or if the easterly does push through, it compresses through here a bit. So make sure you give yourself room when you come in, clean your height so you can wash it off back in here, because it does compress through here. Now this site can get particularly busy, as you can see. It's got thermals and it's also got the breeze getting sucked in from all the thermals getting taken off. So don't make your approach back here, don't do your figure eights back here, do your figure eights out here in the front, lose your height out in front. It's just common sense because it does compress in here. There's generally a windsock down there. If you do go out to Cheeseman, remember to take a windsock one of yours because it does help on landing, okay? Just be aware though, sometimes when you come into land, it's caught me out a number of times and it'll catch everyone out. You'll be coming in, you look at the windsock, you're on your final approach, and all of a sudden the freaking wind direction will change. It happens. It's very well common knowledge for this particular site. It will change, okay? So don't be embarrassed if you're coming in and then all of a sudden you're running out like freaking, a rabbit and then you trip over and roll over or whatever. Don't be embarrassed, it happens. But just be aware, it can change, especially on those light days, okay? The wind it's mainly just thermals popping off, and they can change direction. And if it does change direction, try and turn sideways if you can. So you're not actually going tailwind, try to turn your wind a bit more to the side. So if you do your final approach, you're coming in this way, say you're going to land in this way, and then all of a sudden the wind starts to come from this way, or you know what I mean? Don't go with it. Try and turn the wind if you can, but don't be brutal or anything. I'd rather go sideways to it than run them with it. but sometimes you're too low, if you understand what I mean.
It's also sloping down towards the bottom of the mat.
That's correct.
So that increases
Yeah.
your glide.
Quite often you'll see people coming in here, and they keep going and going and going and going and going.
Just
Okay.
bob,
Yeah.
bob. It's like, what the heck? That's the best way
Yeah.
to go.
It's actually nicer landing at the left bottom corner of the net there because the area is much wider and you can
Yeah.
you normally tend to land along the road, up or down, but there you can pretty much go 360 every direction you want and you can glide out everything and it tends to be less dumpy. Longer walk there, fine.
I often do an aircraft approach on this one, often because of that reason. This area being a little bit tricky to deal with. I'll check my hooks back here. If I don't get anything that day, I'll check this area. Typically there's a thermal there. This one's probably the best one to get up, or that one. If that doesn't work, then I'll kind of wash out my height here and do just a classic aircraft approach, which gives me this angle, this angle, this angle, or that angle to land. You have plenty of options to adapt to your windsock, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's plenty of landing in here, as you'll know. It's massive. Okay. Don't really try and land back in here because it is a bit of a compression zone in there. Okay. If you said land around here, further out, and if need be, doesn't matter. If you land down here, you land down there. Okay. Now be aware when you do come in on those particular thermal days, you can get thermals popping off at ground level, and you will hit them, and you will go up. Be aware of that. Okay.
I've seen the biggest dusting I've ever seen in my life
Yeah,
in that lower area there,
I believe it.
and you can hear it roaring like a train 100 metres away.
Yeah, I believe it.
And see the ground.
Yeah.
There's no dust to be picked up at that time.
Yeah,
And that circled around where we were,
yeah,
and that was terrifying.
I believe
To
it.
think coming in with that around, landing.
Yeah, because there's a massive heat and bowl all in here. It really is. I've myself and seen other people, we've been 50 feet above the ground or so, hooked a thermal and gone all the way back up. And sometimes coming in here can be quite tricky because it's all lifting off. Just be aware of that. Be comfortable pulling your ears and then you're fine. Be comfortable doing spirals to get down. And there's the thing, goes back to Taylor's mistake, get these things comfortable. Because sometimes this whole will lift off. If a bit of a sea breeze comes in, this will lift off big time.
Just be patient and don't be too hard on yourself if you wanted to land there, but you end up landing there. It's fine. It's not a place for precision landing here. I tend to use the road a lot, just in case I get caught with a tailwind. I can slide on that road by just rocking my feet and use the road a little bit better than try to run on the higher tussocks here and Matagaris. Yeah.
Fantastically soft if you fall over.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So
soft.
it's tricky landing for everybody, even for an experienced pilot.
It can be tricky. Okay.
Give yourself plenty of room in the middle here. There's a lot to deal with, losing your altitude. And then, I can recommend again the aircraft approach just to finish your line.
Especially if you wait for your launch and you have about an hour or 2 hours of flying in your tank, you're not coming down in the heat of the day. Really.
Just make sure if you do land on the road, you can do that, like as John said, but make sure you don't have big heels on, because they will dig in and you'll go arse over kite.
This is a bit more strong than meets the eye at first. This ridge line is actually almost like a pyramid. It's almost as steep there as it is on the other side. So be careful. Sometimes the thermals are they feel strong, but they're not that strong. They combine with a lot of wind going through or anabatic flow altogether. Everything's moving up. And you end up thurling in like what I call sort of the frisbee style. You carry a lot of ground, but not much height, and you end up in this zone here. This zone here is, again, it's really tough to fly out. You'll lose everything. That little bit that you gain, suddenly it's like, oh crap, I wish I didn't do that. So just remember again, all that line, that ridge line is better underneath you, unless you're quite high up. Then you can go with it.
Same case scenario here. If you catch a thermal, don't drift over the back line. It's exactly the same as I mentioned before. Because you'll get into that compression zone, you'll get all that rotor, you'll get drilled from the thermals. If you do, thermal out, up, push forward, thermal up, push forward, then up you go. Okay?
That's something
It's a
to
good
take
skill to
anywhere,
do.
really. So.
Yeah. And now this emergency landing field, that's if you're flying out from Cheeseman, and we're saying you hit Big C and you don't think you're going to safely get to here, you can land in here. There's a power line there. It's very hard to see.
It's quite low.
You're not going to
And
get
it's
a.
quite boggy in there.
Yeah,
it's
it's-
usually up to ankles or mid, especially in the springtime. But yeah, it's an emergency. It's huge. You can land around here as well. It's just an option.
It's a backyard option, okay? So if you do get big sink from coming out from Cheeseman, you get a lot of sink, you've been hanging around in low thermals too long above the tree line, and you, all of a sudden you've noticed that you've lost a lot of ground speed because you've got a bit of a compression zone up going through here. Don't worry, just land back in here, okay? It's pretty straightforward. The lodge is just there, and as John said, it can be a bit swampy, but I'd rather be landing there than trying to land back in here, or because if you come in here low, you're going to hit the compression zone from the valley breeze coming through, or the thermal breeze, and you'll end up down in the trees or that. Make it simple. If you're not sure, if you're not going to get here, just come and land there. Just going to get wet feet, that's all. Right, no more questions about this?
No, except Sasquatch.
Well, you don't know yourself.
Haven't you seen him?
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, he's in there. Okay, long spear.
So what's this? What's this?
Long spear.
Oh.
Yeah. How many people have been long spear? Quite a few.
Monster? Who hasn't?
Whoa,
That's quite a lot.
It's quite a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great alternative if you don't want to go through the trouble of getting the keys for the gates and the car shuffle and the hike and fly. It's really good, easy access, nice trail that goes all the way up, and you can launch anywhere you want along this ridgeline. Really, there's typical points or higher little spot on the way up, and these are actually good triggers. So oftentimes the thermals don't keep following the ridgeline. They'll actually go straight up from these ones. So they're a good point to check from all your takeoff. Do you want to carry on, Ross? Or do you want to
Yeah,
carry
no
on?
worries. So this particular track up here, I've done it only once. From here to here, it gets quite steep. But as John said, you can launch here a tree line if you want. Check the conditions. If the thermals are coming through here at 15 k's or so, this is quite a nice spur or a bit of a valley in here. You can thermal up out of here. Or you can walk up to here, there's quite a big clear, nice big open spot there, or the upper launch is there. And if you're really keen, well, you can go super high and go way up there. The benefit going up high, you got more time to search for thermals. That's the massive benefit of going high. Got more airtime looking for them. Generally, most of the people will launch here, and you got the thermals tracking up there. But as I said, watch out for thermal draw coming over the back. Sit around for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, wait for it to see what it does. Is it going to back off? Usual thing, thermal draw. If you have to, take off when there's no more thermal draw, because the thermal's going straight up out here, out the front. Okay? Now, this particular site, you can get thermals coming up on this particular site as well. So, as I said, mix some thermals. If you get a nod thermal drifting up from, say, behind, you want to go this way, but you can just sit down, suss it out, see what's going on. Don't be in a big rush. As I say, go to a hillside, rest up. Because believe me, it's a bit of a slog up to here. How long does it take? An hour?
Oh, not more than that. An hour and a half.
15,
Hour 15?
An hour and a half.
Depending on your fitness. I've seen James, he's
This
fucking
is probably a
nuts.
bit more like
James just flies up.
an hour 50, an hour 45 if you fit.
Yeah.
If not 2 hours. For me, it's too much now.
How long to get up to there, Eva? You remember?
It's not at 20 minutes.
It's pretty steep though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a bit technical walking as well and
Yeah.
hard in terrain. The launch is actually not so nice to launch from.
Right, I've never been. I've flown across it many a times, but I've never
If
Yeah.
you have more of a northerly launch is fine, but the rest of it is a bit tricky.
And if you do decide to go this way, if the thermals are more dominant this side, you either go into here, and be careful pushing out here, because out here is just all bush. There's not many places to land. Generally, if it was me, I'd be going up here and launching off these sides, because this side is baking in the sun first thing anyway. And the thermals will be drifting off up here. And this particular point here, if you can't find anything here, push out the front, look for a thermal. If not, push down and hit here, fly in here. There's quite a nice thermal source in there. Trying to think what else. You got anything to add to that, Andre? Because you go out there quite a bit.
I got a couple of things.
Yep.
The lower takeoff tends to lure people who are not super keen on hiking because it's nice and flat and you can see that you can launch from there. But there are two things to consider. One is the thermal draw, as you say. Second one is because it is actually a wider ridge, it can trigger on both sides and creates dust devils through it. So I've seen people pull up into what they thought was a thermal and it was actually a dusty, and then their wing is in the air and they kind of get knocked around. And the terrain is actually quite flat, so you're not flying away from terrain right away. So I quite like the upper takeoff, or what's marked there as upper takeoff. And then a couple of things, really, this spot up here is, it is the trigger that we tend to go for. So you take off, get some height, and then we always try to go to the higher terrain, right? We try to go there because we're expecting a thermal there. When it's not there, what we can see and what we tend to do is going into the bowl, and as Christchurch pilots scratch in quite close. What you can do there to stay safe is push away from the hill. If you try to fly back on your own trajectory, you're arriving into the same spot where you've expected to climb. Now you're flying through the lee side of it, right? So you're flying through the turbulence behind it, and you're close to terrain, and you're arriving on the back end. You can get quite a big collapse close to the hill there. Your better scenario is if you do not get anything, go away from the ball, and then you can hit the same spot as you're coming from wide and away from terrain. You always have the chance to turn away. And second point I would like to say is that if you're flying around here and you're getting low, there's a big flat area down there that's great for landing.
That's next.
It's very sinky on the way there.
Yeah. So what Andrew is saying, if you go in here, stay further out to the front, okay? That's just what we talked about before. Give yourself room for margin. Don't fly right into the back of the bowl. Personally, I would do it myself. But you got to remember, you got to range above your head, and you could be lee side going in there, because you don't know if it's strong westerly out top till you start doing them up. If you take off and start getting it up, start working up here, working up here, winding it up, get up high, then go to the top ridge. If you feel that westerly from over top, you know, as your ground speed's slowing right down as you flying towards the top range, just be aware, keep your friggin' height till you're actually way above that ridge. If you're starting to sink like this towards the top west range, turn around, go back, top up again, go higher. So you get up above those thermals coming from the west side, which are going to drill you.
Makes sense.
Now, along spur here, as I said, you can thermal up from here. I've hit some nice thermals here before, and just worked my way up the spine, up here, then back onto the ridge line. Oh, I've flown out the front here and hooked thermals. Was when we, Groom, Eva and all that were there. We had a good flight. We're all flying out in the front, we're flying all over here. There's nice thermals everywhere that particular day. It was really nice flying. Right, but as I said, it is a bit of a walk up, especially from starting the bush here up to about here. She's a bit of a slog. And there's actually not really that many areas to launch. Generally, that's the best one there. When I launched there, I actually walked down the here quite a bit to catch the thermals properly. But as I said, get onto the site, check it for 20 minutes, half an hour, sit down, take a rest, see what's happening. Is the thermal draw coming from the back? What's dominant? Weight. If it's coming from the back, weight. Because this side is always baking in the sun. And if there's thermal draw, it will indicate the thermal's out the front, so you may have to take off when there's no thermal draw, take off when it's calm, fly straight out, boom, you'll hit the thermals. Don't stay in close, because they're not in close, because they're not drifting back. Okay? Exactly the same with the Christchurch gondola here. Yeah, very similar conditions.
The
Right.
sea breeze is coming in, and you can see it sometimes at Porter's Pass. Like if you're high enough here, you can see Porter's Pass. There's a bit of cloud starting to do some orographic stuff. You can see the classic sea breeze. It's probably not a good place to launch then.
The breeze is coming up through
The breeze is coming in. It's cold air, and it's going to trigger all these ones. Probably before they get mature enough to trigger on their own. So it ends up being quite turbulent and fizzy. And you got the whole of Leith Hill as well that blocks it and accelerates the wind around. So it takes a long time before you get away from all this trouble to go find a landing zone. And that ridge line here, if you fall behind the ridge line, well, you end up going towards Texas Flat for safety, because that ridge could throw you some rotor as well. So I would not go there if it's a windy day, 15 to 25. Probably rather go Cheeseman or somewhere else.
So if you get up there...
Or Leith Hill is a much better option at that stage, because
Yeah.
you can face it and fly towards it.
So if you get up there and it's like 20, 25 k's, don't worry about walking back there. Just walk back down. Don't worry about flying. I'd rather be able to walk down stuff I'm going to fly than you get a skilled flight. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is, you're not happy with the conditions for you, just walk back down.
Are we good with this one?
There's no halfway station up there, so pay attention to what 25 feels like at Taylor's. It's going to feel the same up there. Not many people can handle 25 at Taylor's.
No.
No reason to go.
And you got to treat this as I said like cheese and that.
25 on steroids.
If it's 25 k's, it's going to be strong. I'd be just turning around and walking back home. If you're walking up here and the trees are starting to sway, or if it's 25 k's or so down here, you know it's going to be strong around here. Turn around, go home.
You're late.
You're late.
You're late.
Don't launch at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
Or the forecast was slightly off or something.
Or if you're timing backwards, like what Ross is saying is spend at least half an hour checking out the conditions. You're going to need another half an hour at least to get your gear ready, and you need an hour and a half to get up there, and an hour and a half to drive there. That should tell you that most of us leave the city very late. If people are meeting at 9:30 and 9 o'clock, you're not going to be there.
And as I say, it's a pretty good walk.
Oh, that's
so
rich.
you want reasonable fitness, or you got to be puffing.
With the golf course.
That's the golf course
There.
there.
Oh, where it says golf course.
I was ready for you, Anton.
Where's the no landing, Anton?
Right. This is the landing pad version from Longspur's up the back here. There's the Longspur Ridge coming down.
Yeah, none of the side hill landings are actually.
Well, in emergency, I
Yeah,
would.
yeah, emergency yes, but go talk to the station.
Yeah. No landing. No landing. I've marked it. You can see it on the club website. I've got all this. I marked it on here. This is the typical landing. Here's the golf course here. Golf courses have flags on all their pins on the greens. So you got flags everywhere. I think they're still there, aren't they?
Yeah,
They are, but they're so Sunday.
I think they're really, really
They're actually
tight.
not bad. I was there Monday. They're all good.
There's actual windsock by the container in the middle of the field.
Oh, is it?
A yellow big one, about a meter and a half.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
But they're
go.
all back on the.
Yeah.
They're all good.
Okay, if you're coming off Longspur and you're sinking out, these are some options. As we said, you're not supposed to land there, but I'd rather see you land here safely than freaking end up in the trees or doing something stupid, okay? If the sea breeze comes in, you can top hill land here also.
Or go back to the Longspur landing
Yeah,
while you're up.
and we've got Texas flat this way,
It's more this way.
off to the left.
Yeah.
But this spur goes all the way up. That's actually long spur. So you can actually land quite a wee way, because that up here is a big flat spot when you're walking. You can land up there as well. Okay? You'll see it when you're walking up, there's a big flat area there before you start climbing again. You can land in there if need be. But this is if you're pushing out to land down here, and all of a sudden you get hit, sea breeze, or you get big sink. These are some options. As I said, pack up and just leave happily. Okay? Texas flat, as I said, is over this way. You'll see it. Land the spot there. You got your flags. I have landed here before, but be aware this is a building. Houses all in here, so probably in a few years there'll be all houses there. If the breeze comes in, it wraps around and compresses, goes up through here. And that's really all we've got to say about that particular site. You've got a massive big golf club there. Was it 18 holes?
Right.
Is it 18 holes or 9 or 12?
I never counted
I think it's a 9.
Is it? Oh, okay.
The flags are new.
but it's just in flight from the takeoff.
Yeah.
Maybe not for everyone as well. So I would recommend the top flat section as your primary until you get in some height before you push up to the golf course.
Any more questions? But just remember, that spur's going all the way up to where you launched off. And as I said, halfway up is a nice big flat spot. You can land there if you don't think you're going to get here. But you've got to walk across the flat spot anyway. Okay? So you can suss it out there. Evan?
Something I don't understand. Why can we not land on the left there? Because we can walk up there from the Castle Hill car park. We could walk up there with a heavy backpack. We can fly there, but we just can't land there.
You have to talk to the station owners, I guess.
It's fenced off private land, so you can't really walk up.
No, but that area on the left there,
Yeah.
that's Castle Hill. You can walk up there. From
Yeah, I know.
And then past it is fenced off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can still all walk there. That's all free to walk there.
Yeah, I know, but we're not on land there. Yeah.
Maybe it's the animals, they're afraid they're going to
I
get
don't
scared
know.
of us.
It's like a lot of the time we're
It's
on,
their land. And
yeah, a lot of the time we're on land at the, where all the cars park, where they go into the rock climb. Sometimes we're on land there. Excuse me, there's my voice. We're on land there,
The land just built the car.
and we're not supposed
Yeah.
to.
just behind the car.
Yeah.
It's a good spot.
We're not supposed to. It's all red zone. If you ever get approached by a person, especially from Doc, be civil towards them. Don't tell them to so and so off or that. Just speak to them kindly. Not, I had to arrest the land. You know what I mean? Just be respectful if someone does approach you. Because we're not supposed to land by those car parks up here where everyone goes to the rocks. That's all red zone.
Because the part there just north of the car park is one of our sailplane landing spots.
Yeah.
We can land there, no problem.
Yeah.
It's crazy that a paraglider would not be allowed to
I
land
know, this with the baby.
Where do you say, Edwin?
just north of the car park.
Yeah,
So
around
if
the
you follow the
side.
road there to the left,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
would be on the right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They allow us
we can land there.
emergency.
We have landed there. There's
Oh,
no
okay.
problem.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's bizarre. As you look at the club site, all that's red zone.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to go past the car park way up on that big long straight. We've actually got to get to the end of the straight, then we can land all in there.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why, but it's,
That's a map that came directly from Castle Hill Station
Right.
owners, and we just implemented on the
Yeah,
I say we don't do it.
My understanding, even if you land there, you still need to contact the station owner
well, you're supposed
and
to
let
do
them know that
that.
you've landed there. So.
At the end of the day, it's like if someone comes up to you and says, "Why are you landing here?" Just say, "Look, I had nowhere else to land. I wanted to land this particular area. I couldn't get to there, or I had to do emergency landing." It's frustrating because we don't do any damage or anything, as we all know. If you do climb over a fence or that, make sure you climb over where the main pole is and hop up over that, or try and go between the wires. Don't hop over in the middle of between two poles. Hop over right next to the main pole, or off the corner of a fence, because that's the strongest point. Or part the wires, but check that they're not electric wires.
Could be convergence, but convergence just means patience there, because you got no major hills that's going to throw a lot of rotor. But it can take a long time to go down on it because there's convergence coming from Porters and the other one from the Waimak or Helicopter Hillway. So that convergence can move around different places. Sometimes trying to land there can take a while. It's like, wow, I'm floating forever. But it's not a bad place to float.
Yeah.
Sometimes the convergence sits over Long Spur itself. So when it's too rough on the mountain itself, you kind of call it off and give yourself, the altitude to arrive to your landing high. As you follow the spur, you just get the nicest climbs. You can get away from terrain.
The valley can just release.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6. I think it
Number
is.
6, just a question before we go off that one.
Yep.
People who haven't walked up that way, the track, I was just looking at the top of it, starts from the Hogsback track, does it? And it's pretty evident at the point where you jump
You
off.
drive up through here,
Yes.
It's
and there's a
tricky
track
to see
there.
turn off.
The track is a parking
There's a park
somewhere in
there, I
here.
think. The park's right there.
Yeah. So it's easy to get on the track.
You walk
then you go
zigzag
straight
up.
up
Yeah.
the forest.
That's the car park there.
But then, as you get to the top, as you walk past the top flat area, the track would turn off to the right to the lightning tree, and that's when you want to start looking left.
You wanna go up
spur
like
find
this.
the track, and it's not marked.
Yeah, just
But if you literally look on the ground as you walk in, you will see a little cut out.
You don't follow the road either. There's from where you park, about 50 metres, there's
Yeah.
a forest track on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the park's right
There's
there.
a couple of options on there, but yeah,
And the
you'll
road
make it up.
keeps going, but you can park here and the track's just up the road a bit. Then you wind your way up to here. It's right to here.
The track that's as easy up is easier, but it's much longer. It's a switchback for mountain bikes, so it just takes you ages, and it's not that nice to walk. And you'll probably find some bikes.
Right.
It's a big one.
This particular one here, as you can see the headline, is the typical sea breeze punching in to the Craigieburn range. It's a massive heater mark. Unfortunately, it's something we have to put up with the sea breeze coming in. When it does come in, winds through, what's that lake there again? Lake Linden, isn't it? Lake Linden, so that's the Porters Pass. We drive over, the winds go that way and the winds will come down here. And then you got the winds going up the Required, then coming in back behind the West Range. Then we got the winds coming up here, the sea breeze pushing in through all through here. With that massive cold air coming in, you'll often find the whole valley will start to trigger off. And you will know this because you're going up. It's just a massive cold air from the sea breeze, maybe hits 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It will come in and it will establish itself in the valley and the winds will go down here. But the main problem is the whole valley will release off with the change in temperature. This happens quite a lot at Taylor's Mistake, off and on. I've seen many people, I don't know if you have ever noticed it, there'll be people flying at Taylor's Mistake, it's quite a nice thermic day and all that, and then the sea breeze will come in quickest. Instead of steadily coming in, it will come in quite fast. What will happen, all of a sudden everyone will be skying out. Because what happens, that cold air comes in, temperature different, hits that warm air, the whole valley releases at Taylor's Mistake. And all of a sudden, for half an hour, 40 minutes, everyone's skying out until everything starts to stable down and the sea breeze is established. You've got the very similar situation here, but on a larger scale. When it comes in, the whole valley, all in here and over here, all can just release. And you're going up, okay? This is what I mean. Be comfortable with your big ears, be comfortable doing spirals. Just ride it out, but I don't know how long it will last in the valley for, because there's a massive heating going on in this particular basin. It will come through, eventually the sea breeze will establish, and you can land you know, your normal spots. I've landed down here, not at Texas Flat. I'd push out from Texas Flat. I'd be pushing out toward these paddocks here where the main highway is. Out, there's the main highway right there. You know where they do the rock place and all that there? It could be coming through there at 25 k's down here because the sea breeze is established.
Definitely had a few vertical landings.
Yeah.
They're close to the pass.
It happens, unfortunately. Yeah, and it happens more at summer because the sea breeze gets sucked through. You will find that you'll be out here, you'll push out to the middle of the valley, and you just keep going out. Get your ears in, start to spiral down, okay? And it could be 20, 25 k's coming through here. Try and not land at Texas Flat, that's way back in here. It's going to get compressed through there more. If you can, push out to here if you can, but if you can't, land right at the head of Texas Flat. You know, where it really opens up, land there if you can. But it does release and it does happen, unfortunately. You ride it out. I think Gray was up there the other day, wasn't it? And it happened. Monday, was it? They were up there flying, and Gray flew out. All of a sudden he was going up, wasn't it? Quite substantial, wasn't it? And he got up to 7,000 or 8,000 feet. I don't think he even turned because the valley just released. And this is the middle of summer because the track pulls in that sea breeze. Generally 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2, 3 o'clock, around there. But it doesn't always push in. I generally keep an eye on what's happening at Springfield when I'm flying. There's at Springfield, there's point 40 there. There's the indicator. That's a good example. If the wind starts getting strong at Springfield, where the hell Springfield, way down here, it's a good indicator that sea breeze is on its way. It may not push in. Don't ask me why it doesn't push in. Sometimes the sea breeze will get to this range and it won't go any further. I don't know why. I don't study that type of particular thing, but just be aware the valley can release off, so get your ears and spiral down and land down here, and it could be 20k wind coming through there.
If you can't or don't want to work your phone and check weather stations, it's good to keep an eye on the lakes, because they are in the pinch points in the compression, so they will show signs of increase of wind.
Yeah. No, you won't
go there though.
Yeah, that's Lake Linden, you won't see it anyway. And
Yes,
Lake
you'll see
Pearson.
it when you're high. You see both of them when you're high.
Yeah, well you got Lake Pearson down here, but you shouldn't be really down here. You're probably mainly over here flying for low airtime pilots anyway. That's why sometimes we suggest that you take off at 10 o'clock, something like that, if there's a strong northeast forecast. And check the forecast. Is it going to push in there? Check windy. Is it going to push in there? Unfortunately, it's one of those things of flying in the mountains. You got all the massive heating going on there, but yeah, if that sea breeze that comes in, it can just trigger it all off. It's nothing to be really concerned about. Just be aware you're going to go up. Okay? And if you want to get down, use the sinking air. I mentioned this at the last talk. But this sinking air, work the sinking air. Turn in the sinking air. Because that air is coming down. So why not use it to your advantage to get down quicker? Don't fly out of it, stay in it. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but quite often when I'm flying here or in the mountains or wherever, I've had enough or I want to get down. If I'm flying along and I hit sinking air, I will work that sinking air. I will turn in that sinking air. It's good as gold. It just means you're coming down. It's so much better to come down. It's not turbulent or anything like that. Work that sinking air down because you know you're going to come. If you go 3 at the when you hit the sinking air, it's 2, 3 down. Work the sinking air because you're going to be coming down so much quicker. Same principle here. If you find sinking air, use it. You did it a couple of weeks ago when you jumped and come down. Oh, about 5 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, sinking air is a good strategy.
Sinking air is great to use, especially if you want to get down. If you want to go up, well, stay away from it. But you know what I mean? Use the sinking air if you want to come down. It's a massive advantage. Use it to your advantage. It gets you down a lot quicker. Right, no questions about this? It's massive. It's just like a massive glass off. But Once that sea breeze gets in, it gets established, it's 20, 25, 30 k's through there. Just be aware of that. And as I said, push out this big paddock somewhere. It's really open and wide. You know, don't go into a compressed little valley. Go to find somewhere big and wide, real massive big paddocks. So you know the airflow is going to be smooth, it's not compressed. Any questions? No more questions? All good? Right, next one. We've got 2 more slides to go, and then we're going to get Graham to have a quick talk. You got anything to add to it, John?
No, that's okay. I mean, briefly, without knowing where all those lines are exactly, it's kind of like the circulatory system we have with our veins and arteries. This is an artery. It's a much bigger area, so the wind will show up in here first. And then slowly but surely, all the little wee valleys will start to light up. Okay, that's another artery in here. And when everything is really turned on from the sea breeze, well, it finds breaches and it starts to jump over in different places and adds and adds and adds. And once it starts to come from all angles, you come soon to realize that same wind is actually hitting itself from all angles. And that's why we get these long convergence over here, which is typically rough.
It's Caribbean range. And remember, treat the airflow like water. If you don't quite understand it, just think of it as a water flow. How the water be going through that valley, the bed getting compressed. If it goes on the big flat paddock, the water will spread out.
This little bridge hill.
Right, we'll quickly talk about these. I haven't found this particular site for many years. We used to send students off it. This was quite a good handy site. Anyway.
Where is this relative to, say, Castle Hill?
Is that on the way to Lake Pearson, past Cave Stream?
Cave Stream's down here. So you keep going past Cave.
So Helicopter Hill is this way here?
Oh,
Yeah. We used to use this
But there's been a fire in here. I'm not sure what
massive
the access
fire
is.
went through there, so it's all changed. As black holes through there. It's just been completely burnt out. We used to send a lot of students off here because the reason why is we've got a nice access road up to here, then just a bit of a walk up the back.
Not much.
No, maybe
It's
20
short-
minutes,
short
15
walk.
minutes, a short little walk. Used to be a 4x4 track there.
It might not be on anymore.
Well, that's the thing. I haven't been here for years. Can you thermal out of here? Yes, you can. It's a bit more challenging, but you can thermal out. We used to land students and that all down here, but as I said, things have changed. This seems to be the main landing paddock now. You got the power line there. You got thermals that come up the face here. And if the sea breeze comes in, well, it's going to come in like that.
Is this all landing accessible?
Yeah. I don't know what this could be. We used to land the students in here or around in here.
There's a bit of timber
But-
that stack up
Yeah.
and slashes from the logging and stuff, but there's usually spots to land here, no worries. Either side, this is the main worry, power line here. But yeah, all the way through there is landing.
Do we know the name of that road?
The access road.
Yeah.
I have
We
no
used to be
idea.
able to get
Broken-
the key, but
It's a broken river.
That access road, is that where the dog campsite is?
To be honest, I had no idea.
campsite is not.
Next to Broken River is
I
ski
think it's more
field.
broken river, you know?
Broken
Right.
River ski field access.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's Forest Lodge somewhere in here. There's Forest Lodge.
No, not there.
Sorry, no, the Canterbury
Forest
Environmental
Lodge is
No, the
Texas
Environmental Lodge.
Yeah.
We used to stay there
Okay.
when we had comps. But
Yeah.
again, I'm not sure what happened here.
Unfortunately, I didn't research the name of the road. It could be called Bridge Hill Road.
So that road carries further up?
Yeah, it
That's
goes
the
up
roads.
and then it keeps going in the back, I think, but the track's there, you can see it and you can just launch off there. And it's quite a nice little hill. It's a quick turnaround, as I said, we used to put students off there all the time.
Yeah.
It's a nice area, and you can thermal out of it, no worries at all. It's a good challenge, it's a good challenge, because it's quite low, but high enough to get into the thermals and up and away. Right, next one. Helicopter Hill. I've never actually flown this particular site myself. I've never worried about it.
You've got to walk that one.
Do you want to talk about this one, John?
I can, yeah, no problem.
But as I said, we've put the both tracks in.
This used to be our main site for quite a number of years because we had no access to Cheesemans for a while. So this was it. And it's a very simple little takeoff area. Typically we would land anywhere near is fine. You could drive up to about this area here where the trail starts. That's an easy hike up. It's also really nice in the summertime because it's in the forest compared to going up Longspur. It's nice and cool in there. And it's not that steep. It's pretty nice all the way up. And then you end up at a saddle, and then from the saddle you go all the way up to the top of Helicopter Hill. The main launch is usually north side. I've never launched any other side. In fact, they don't look very inviting when I was there last. There's quite a lot of trees in here. And to launch the other ways wasn't really feasible. Most of the time was on that side. It's a nice little thermic site. You see you landing. Yeah, and this is as simple as riding up the main house thermals, which goes straight up along here. Typically from there, the options are to go straight up from it before you commit to go to the next, what we call Tim's Knob in the back, because Tim Percival used to never go there. He used to always hike up the extra mile and launch from higher up, which is good, but it's a technical takeoff. Other than that, yeah, I wouldn't want to go in this valley for the obvious reason. It's quite tricky. Also, if you're a bit late on that site on takeoff, watch for the wind coming up this valley here from Lake Pearson. This is a Venturi area. It can get quite strong and quite quickly. Yeah. Typically here we go up and we go with the wind up to Bridge Hills next, and then you try to carry on as far as you want. I totally recommend it as a first hike and fly sort of site. It doesn't have any tricky circumstances to think of.
How long's the walk?
The walk is probably about an hour 20, somewhere around there.
Is this particular face here?
I've never done this one, this walk here up.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's another way up.
that's the other track up. This particular face will bake first, we'll get the sun on it first. But when you're up top, just check the conditions as always. But on the site briefing, on the club site, they say southeast. But check that out for yourself when you're up there, okay? But this is the typical side that will get the sun first. And as John said, don't go up into here unless you've got plenty of height, so you can get up back here and work your way back, or go to Bridge Hill that way. And typical, you're down in here, so just be aware of the sea breeze because the wind comes through here quite strong because you are in a compressed area. So just be aware of that. But as I say, I've never particularly flown the site myself, so yeah.
It can be a bit hit and miss, that's the problem. It's a one-off on the thermal, so you got to time your takeoff well. Spend a bit of time on takeoff to measure your cycles and see what you get. If you start to get strength and frequency, they're often, and they last a long time, then that's probably a cue to launch.
Any questions? No. Anything to add to it, Andre? All good?
I think it's a bit lower than the other takeoffs, so it can be under inversion, and you might have to wait a little bit longer for the thermals to build there. I've never launched there. Every time I flew over it, I never got anything.
Yeah. How actually high is it? I have no idea. 400, what would it be?
That'd be 300, that's 320.
1256 metres or feet?
Vertical or
Feet, metres.
Meters.
So you times that by 3 roughly, that'll give you your feet. So that's about 4,000 feet, something like that.
But vertical wise, it's not that high.
Yeah.
It's high, but
Yeah, it feels like you have less time and less chances for the same amount of and probably effort of walking to long spur.
Yeah.
But I feel it's a much safer site for lower airtime pilots compared to long spur.
Yeah.
You have better landing, you have better takeoffs. Good place to launch multiple wings as well all at once, which is great there. Yeah, you have plenty of space to have 3 or 4 guys thermaling up there.
Did it get affected by the fire?
I went through there last time we flew Cheeseman. got
That
5
side is,
Yeah,
that side is.
all that area got absolutely burnt out. I couldn't believe how much damage was actually done in there. It's just black all through there. I couldn't believe it. I was very surprised how burnt out it was. Right, that's it for the slides. Hopefully it's kind of give you more information with respect of Cheeseman or Long Spear, the main 2 sites. You maybe do a talk about flying the upper range, but it's very similar. You get the conversion thermals. You know, we're mixing thermals with one west side, got this side, and we mix up. Hold on tight.
Yeah.
It's
I
Cheeseman.
never go there relaxed. I'm always a bit tense, and rightfully so. You got to be a bit ninja there. Really fly your wing proper.
It's active flying in Cheeseman, okay? And active flying, for the people who don't know what active flying is, it means keeping your wing open. It's pressurising the wings, it goes soft, bit of brake. You're doing a workout flying. Continuously flying your wing. It's flying your wing, active flying. Okay? Don't think I'm trying to put you off, I'm just trying to put it out there. It's Cheeseman. Be aware if you go there middle of summer, just be aware of it, you get very strong. Right, anything else? No questions? Good. So what I'll do is get Graham to get up there and have a little talk about what led to his accident. Yeah, go back to that.
Thanks, Ross.